two pieces here for y'all today. I'm laying in bed in the dawn of the morning. My wife puts her hand on my shoulder and shakes me a little bit and says, "Jason, wake up. Come on, get up." I slowly try to get my body moving, but when I open my eyes, the calm noise of morning quickly fades into yelling, gunshots, and explosion. I look to see that the person who shook me awake wasn't my wife, but instead an old friend of mine named Private Swanson. He was shaking me violently and yelling at me to wake up. When he saw that I had was once again conscious, he said, "Good, now get moving." He handed me my rifle and he ran behind me, pushing forward. I then looked at where I was. I was at a shoreline. The sky was gray and there were several military ships docked at shore. Around the beach were men hiding in trenches, and those who weren't in trenches were dead. I saw bullets whiz above me, and I heard the sounds of mortars firing. Then it all hit me right like a brick. I remember where I am. I am a soldier in World War II, and this is D-Day. I tighten my grip on my rifle, and I look about the trench I was hiding in. I hear a gun fire, and as the sound of the bullet exploded out of the barrel, it rung in my ears. Time moved backwards for me. I sat in the boat, crowded with other soldiers, our hearts pounding. Some men were even praying. We had the plan drilled into our heads. We would just simply arrive on shore, and we would push upward until we captured the enemy's fort. I peeked my head above the other soldiers' helmets to see that we were about 100 yards from the shore. After a moment of dead silence from the other soldiers, the boat came to a dead stop. The hatch in front of the boat opened. We were supposed to use it as a ramp to run out onto the shores, but instead, we were greeted by enemy fire. I was near the back of the boat, so instead of trying to run out, I leapt over the side of the boat into the water for safety. I was safe from bullets, but my armor was weighing me down in the water, and I started to drown. I desperately pulled off my gear and swam up to the surface of the water, but as soon as I reached the surface, I was immediately getting shot at by enemies, and I had to go back under. I swam to the shore and quickly ran under cover, and I fell into a trench. I was gasping for air out of exhaustion and trauma until I finally passed out. The last calm memory I remember was me sitting in my kitchen table, sipping a cup of coffee and reading the newspaper. I set my paper down to finish the cup of coffee, only to see my wife with tears rolling down her face. I could tell she was trying her hardest not to burst out in tears. So I got up and comforted her. I held her head against my shoulder to let her cry. She asked, "Why? Why do you have to go? Why did you have to go? What if you get hurt or worse?" I simply kissed her forehead and told her that I had to do this and that if I didn't go soon, I was going to live. So I gave her one last kiss and headed out the door, leaving her to stand alone in the kitchen. Looking back on all this, it hit me harder than the bullet.